We continue to celebrate 20 years of local sports here at BCSN, presented by First Solar. Justin Feldkamp and Greg Franke join us in studio again to discuss Greg's top 20 athletes of the BCSN era in high school volleyball.
All right, Greg and Justin here. We are looking at the top 20 volleyball players of the BCSN era, the last 2 decades, 2004 to the present day. Let's take a look at the list. 20 athletes in no particular order. Ignore the rankings, just 20 superb volleyball players. On down the list: Jamie Cox, Bryn Brown, Kat Manley, Gretchen Sigmund, Marissa Leonard, Audra Appold, Ellen Herman Kimball, Jillian Grant, Leah Pike, Mallory Ladd, Maddie Straw, Paige Roback, Ashley Fraser, Victoria Gray, Mallory Straw, Abby Pollock, Maggie Burnham, Nicole Reitnauer, Kayla Guads, and Janie Bungie. All of those guys, Greg, across the entire spectrum of those 2 decades of BCSN airwaves.
Yeah, and you know, we always talk about the sister combinations, and of course Maddie Straw's been with us a long time. Mallory Straw, her sister, played at Central Catholic, and she actually did BCSN commentary before Maddie did. They were both great players, and you could you have Leah Pike on there. It could easily be Leah / Mallory Pike. They're so outstanding, and it's just the difficulty of these kind of lists. But tremendous athletes who just were recently honored with the Old Newsboys Northwest Ohio Player of the Year nominations, and Leah Pike was the winner of that. But I go back in the beginning. The first big rivalry we had in BCSN volleyball was Central Catholic St. Ursula. And the interesting thing, the Central Catholic team was loaded. They had Ellen Herman, they had Ashley Fraser, who went to Kentucky, they had Mallory Straw, who played at UT, and they were the big hitters. But St. Ursula was always strong in the back row, and Emily Florian, whose sister Sarah was maybe the best player. She and Ellen Herman would really be close for the top player we've ever had. Had just graduated, but Emily Florian and her sister were back, and she was great in the back row. But people like Maddie Straw, Marissa Leonard, Jamie Cox, I think they kind of showed that even though the hitters get all the accolades, it's the team that have the solid back row that more often than not wins. And in 2005, it just came down to the wire. I think there was one swing that could have won it for Central. They weren't able to convert. St. Ursula got there and won the state championship that year.
Well-represented list across the entire area, with City League represented on here, Northern Lakes League as well amongst some others, and also players who are still playing today. Bryn Brown played at Marshall. I remember when I first came to the Toledo area, Greg, in 2016, Jamie Cox was at St. Ursula, went on to play at Michigan State, and she was just a dynamo. She wasn't a hitter, she was a specialist, and just everywhere on the court, she wouldn't let a ball fall.
That's right, a libero who, and everybody's impressed by the dives and everything, and she was very capable of doing that. But she also had the knack to be in the right position at the right time, and that sometimes you don't have to be as spectacular as maybe you would be if you weren't quite in that little bit of better position, and she did that so well. St. Ursula, the first year of BCSN in 2004, that's when they were down 2-0. They were down 5 points, 5 match points, championship points, fought them off. The next set they were down 5 championship points, fought them off again, and then broke the other team's will and won it. That was 2004. And then 5, they made it again. They won the first 2 sets. Like Anthony Wayne did this year, sadly. They won the first 2 sets but couldn't quite finish it. But that's what happens when you get to that level, and of course the Anthony Wayne girls have another chance to do that.
Some of the current players that we mentioned, multi-sport athletes throughout the 12 months of 20 years of BCSN celebration. Victoria Gray, she has been phenomenal in so many ways for the Kickin' Mules. On our volleyball list, in some ways you can make the argument she could be on the girls basketball list, but she is a Kickin' Mule headed to become an Indiana Hoosier.
Yeah, and Bedford has such a tremendous program. They had several other Division I caliber players on their squad this past year as well. And as you said, Victoria Gray, a great basketball player. And one of the other things, so we say these caveats every now and then, so if somebody was great in 2 sports, and there's some cases where they weren't quite going to make the list in their main sport, but they were great in another sport, they could get in that way. Or if they were on their first sport, sometimes we might make way for somebody else on a second sport. All kinds of different angles you have to consider when you do this, but she could have been on either one.
Absolutely. Let's take one more look at the top 20 volleyball players of the BCSN era. Congratulations to all 20 on this list. Shout out to a fellow Bobcat, Ellen Herman Kimball, MAC Player of the Year for Ohio, current head coach at UConn.